cross is fallen kindly and dropped down perfectly to be slotted home.
Taras strikes it for distance, it's gone all the way through.
Side him, he goes for goal himself.
It's here, and it's a wonderful finish. Shot comes in, oh it's in, yes, and it's De Lima.
Could be the second one, and it is.
Rashid Stadium just erupts.
And it's in, yes.
An opportunity, an unbelievable goal.
Game over, Al Nasr. Lovely finish from Manolo.
Hello everyone, and we are back. Our first final score of the new ADNOC Pro League season, and all season we're going to be here every week bringing you the goals, the highlights and the talking points from what is sure to be another dramatic season ahead in the top flight here in the UAE. And of course, I'm not doing it on my own. Every week with me as well, we will have Ibrahim Diaki, UAE football legend, and the walking encyclopedia of UAE football, Pedro Correa. Before we get into match week 1 here, Ibrahim, just tell us your thoughts about a new season, all the drama that lies ahead. It's an exciting time, and the new signings and new managers, and it looks like we could be heading for a classic season.
Yes, Graham, great week. Very satisfied with some performances. And you know, as an offensive player, a striker, I like a lot of goals. So 3 teams, they already show the real colors with great performance, and I'm really satisfied with this week. And there is a lot of things to talk about.
A lot to talk about. And Pedro, as we were saying, a couple of big teams have started off really well, and we'll talk about it, but a couple of teams that would be looking to start big are struggling to get their season up and running.
I believe you're mentioning Al Wasl and Jazira, for example. I was going to say that this first week lived up to the expectations, but the better thought about it, I think it lived even beyond the expectations. For a first week in the middle of August, we had very, very interesting matches with lots of intensity. Beyond what I was personally expecting, having in mind the circumstances of the weather and being the first few rounds of the season. So yes, definitely we will have a good season ahead of us.
Okay, so we do have lots to talk about on Final Score tonight, but for those of you who maybe missed some of it, here's a little taster of what happened in match week 1. After all the talk, the transfers and the speculation, the ADNOC Pro League finally kicked off its new season, and match week 1 has already produced drama. The first 2 games to kick off saw newly promoted Al Orooba get an early lesson on stepping up into the top tier. They were soundly beaten 5-1 by Al Nasr, while last season's ADIB Cup winners Al Wahda edged past Ajman, but they needed an own goal from former Al Jazira player Milos Kosanovic to get a 1-0 win. But the first shock of the season came later in the evening, when league champions Al Wasl were seemingly headed to an opening day win. 2 goals from Fabio De Lima, and it felt like business as usual. But a late equaliser from Abdul Salam Mohammed saw Kalba finish with a point. But Sharjah and AFC Champions League winners Al Ain started in style. Sharjah beat Dibba Al-Hisn 4-1, and Al Ain went one better with a 5-1 win at home against Khorfakkan. Despite some eye-catching signings, including former Arsenal midfielder Mohamed El Neni, Al Jazira were beaten in their Abu Dhabi derby against Bani Yas. Nia Karte was the man of the match, assisting the first goal for Burka on his debut and then scoring the second himself. And finally, for match week 1, Shabab Al Ahli, runners-up last season, left it late to beat Al Bataeh, Iranian new signing Sandar Azmoun netting the winner on 92 minutes. So the season is underway, and the unpredictability and drama we expect from the ADNOC Pro League is already on show.
Yeah, there you go. Those are the stats after the first week of play in the ADNOC Pro League. Already 165 shots. That's why Ibrahim's so happy. 59 on target, 27 goals already scored in the first week, an average of just under 4 goals per game. This is why we love the ADNOC Pro League. No penalties as well. I'm pleased about that one. These are the results we're going to go through just to confirm. Wahda 1-0 at home to Ajman. Al Nasr starting in style, 5-1 away at New Boys Al Orooba. Kalba and the champions Al Wasl having to share a point, 2-2 each there. Bani Yas winning the Abu Dhabi derby 2-0 at home to Al Jazira. Shabab Al Ahli with that late winner to beat Al Bataeh. Al Ain, Asian champions, starting 5-1 at home to Khorfakkan. And Sharjah as well, giving Dibba Al-Hisn a quick lesson in the ADNOC Pro League in their first season. So it's only week 1, but we have to show you the table. Al Nasr, they'll love to see that. Can they have one of a special season for the Dubai club? They deserve it. They've waited a long time. Al Ain, Sharjah, Bani Yas, Shabab Al Ahli and Al Wahda all starting with the 3 points that they want. Kalba in the top half of the table with that point. Down the bottom, Dibba Al-Hisn, Al Orooba, Khorfakkan, Jazira, Ajman, Al Bataeh with nothing to show so far. Okay, so let's get on with it then. Pedro, we're going to start, I think, with Al Ain Khorfakkan. They're the AFC Asian League champions. Remember the excitement at the end of last season when we did the 2 legs of their final. It was important for them as Asian champions, and they really represent the UAE on the global stage now as well. They'll be so pleased to win 5-1 at home to Khorfakkan. Kojo Laba, their star striker, getting a hat-trick on day 1.
Yeah, what a statement in terms of the top goal scorers table. Already 3 goals in the first match and a hat-trick. It was pretty much a one-sided game against Khorfakkan. Let me tell you that I believe Khorfakkan this season will do better than last season. Even though this match, okay, it was a very tough loss, but it is a tough loss away at Hazza Ben Zayed Stadium against, as you said, the AFC Champions League winners. And Al Ain played a very good match also. They had everything going in their favor, good atmosphere, Rahimi on fire, Lava on fire, Kaku on fire. It's complicated for any team to stop them when this happens. And Al Ain must collect the points as soon as possible, because both Al Ain and Al Wasl will play the AFC Champions League Elite. So it's important for them to start collecting the points as we speak from the start to avoid then later have to pick up and run after the leaders.
Ibrahim, obviously, former team of yours, you'll be pleased to see that opening day performance, but you're pleased with the club in general, aren't you? They're recruiting some young players. They're not sitting on their laurels. They're still moving forwards.
Yes, of course. When I watched that game, I saw an Al Ain that was completely in control of the game. They used their tactical and technical ability in a really good way. If you see the ball possession, how they use the space, it was done correctly. And it was a very difficult start for Khorfakkan to start against the Asian champion. So, and I think Al Ain, they have many challenges. They're trying to show again that we didn't win by luck. We have the quality, we have a great coach, we have a great squad. And they proved it again by playing against Khorfakkan. Ball possession was on point. Yeah. The movement, the coordination between the offensive line, the midfielder and the striker, everything was done correctly. And once that is done correctly, the result can follow.
One really interesting part of that 5-1 win was the combination of Rahimi and Laba. Last season, there was a lot of talk saying, well, they can't play together, that, you know, they want to do the same things. Already on day 1, it's shown that they can very much play together. They were brilliant as a partnership.
There are different theories always in football as in life, but in this case, there is a theory in football that they say every good player can play together. It's about the coach to manage to balance, to find the balance between the talent he has at his disposal. And in this case, I think they can completely play together, and it's better for Al Ahly for them to play together. Of course, in this case, Rahimi will play open wide slightly to the left, eventually also moving to the right, even to the middle. And Laba will be the spearhead up front and scoring goals. I know people talk about that because of what happened in the Champions League last season, and Rahimi playing as a central forward, not as a striker, as a central forward. I understand that. But those were different circumstances from the ones we have in the ADNOC Pro League. In the ADNOC Pro League, Al Ahly is usually, I would say, 85 to 90% a dominating side in their matches. So yeah, they need as much as they can to have this attacking ability, and it's provided both by Rahimi and Laba, not only these two players.
You say dominating as well. I mean, especially the latter half of last season, it was the high press was working really well for Al Ahly as well. They were really busy sort of defending up front as well, and it looks like they're going to do that again this season. It is hard work. You do have to be very fit, and in these weather conditions as well, it's tough. But look how high up the pitch they are.
Yes, it didn't quite work every time because if you remember against Al Wasl, it was a bit complicated game for them. I think the Coach Crespo understands how it's important to, especially against teams like Khorfakkan, Ajman, to put a lot of pressure, because if he can feel that some defenders don't have that confidence to take the ball out. And I think it's a good choice for him to do that. But you need to be careful, because when you play against teams like Shabab Al Ahli, Jazira, they have very, very fast wings. And if you remember, I mentioned that when Bandar Al-Ababi goes a lot, or Eric, they go on the top to try to make the difference, they're leaving space in the back, which can be vulnerable for them. But so far, I mean, it was an impressive performance from the entire team. Yeah. If you see the combination, how they start from the back, the build-up, it was done very well. And you have Rahimi coming out from the Olympic, still in great form. Yeah. You could see the way how we move, how we make the sprint, and what a cross he gave for Laba, for that header. So he's really great.
Well, let's talk about Laba a little bit. Here's his stats. 101 goals now, Pedro, for Al Ahly. 2 of them outside the penalty area. I mean, that shows his game, shows the strength of his game. Obviously, inside the penalty area, he is deadly. 60 with his right foot, 16 with his left, 25 headed penalty kicks as well. So once you get Laba in the box with the ball, it's very difficult for anyone to stop him.
It's deadly.
Yeah.
The way you can try to stop him is exactly avoiding that, the ball to sail into the box. Because once that happens, then once Rahimi takes the cross, then it's very complicated to stop him, because he has that instinct. He has also the physical capacity to challenge the defenders, to win duels. It's a very complicated striker to stop, and he's one of a kind in terms of his positioning inside the box. He is really that reference inside the box. But let me talk about 2 players on the Al Ahly side that I believe they were also crucial in this win. Mohamed Abbas and Matias Palacios, because you were talking before about the pressure, and the pressure, their work rate in the midfield, and the way they somehow apply the pressure on the opponents, then they are able to provide the possession to the front line, to Rahimi, Kako and Laba, for them to do the damage.
Okay, let's move on then. That was a great opening day win for Al Ahly, but for the defending ADNOC Pro League champions, things didn't go to script. Al Wasl against Kalba. It was an entertaining match. It was a quiet first half, then it all kind of went off in the second half, and it was a late equaliser from Kalba that saw Al Wasl have to settle for an opening day point, despite Fabio de Lima scoring twice. As we said in that report, it looked like it was going to be business as usual for Al Wasl. They're going to pick up where they left off. But this is already a little bump in the road, isn't it? It shows they're not going to have everything their way.
Yes, it won't be easy for them, because, as I say last time, they become the target. And every time you play against the champion, you want to beat the champion to be the champion. So it was not an easy game for them, but I think for the start, it's not bad at all. They have obviously some tactical area where to improve. I'm sure Coach Milos, he knows already what was the mistake, what the team need more. And but I think the focus need to be more there also. In their mind, they need to put that, okay, we are the champion, but let's not make it like, okay, we are invincible. Everything can happen. So, especially when you play against team like Kalba, Ajman, it will be very hard because they're willing to show, to prove that we can also beat the champion.
Well, this is the thing. I don't want to make it sound like this was Al Wasl having an off day. Kalba were excellent, stuck to their task brilliantly. The organisation was fantastic. This wasn't Al Wasl having a bad day. This was Kalba playing a brilliant game of football.
And there you stole my line. That was what I was going to mention. Many credits on Kalba for what they did. Yeah, it's true that Al Wasl should, and I believe definitely they will do better throughout the season, but many credits to the way Kalba played. A courageous match within their strategy, of course, within their capacities. A different team. You cannot compare exactly Kalba with Al Wasl. They're different teams, but within different strategies, the way they approached the match, the attitude they had throughout the match, I think it's a fair result in the end, a draw. I would not say at all that Al Wasl would deserve to lose the match, but neither Kalba.
Yeah.
The way they played, bravery and a strong match within their strategy that I believe will cause lots of problems, especially to the big teams.
One thing I would like to mention, Coach Razovic, he did a great tactic. He understood exactly how he can put the tactic to neutralize the tactic of Milos.
All the big teams are going to be wary of Kalba this season, that's for sure. But for Al Wasl, one of their standout players for the last few seasons, of course, has been Fabio de Lima. He scored 2 goals on the night, but still his team didn't come away with 3 points. Amy Gillingham caught up with him just after the end of the game.
Tough game. We know the Kalba, a good team, new coach, but we come here to take 3 points, you know, and I think we do a lot of good things, and in the end we receive 1 goal. Like I think all team making a little bit mistake in there in the last ball. This is not happy because like the last ball should be taken out, you know, and we do a lot of things. We should be more concentration if we want to take champion again. We know the league hard. We know the teams come more strong, and we should be more focused in the whole season if we want to do something special.
So look, last season you had an unbelievable individual performance as well as a team performance. Also coming into the first league game and first competitive game for Al Wasl since the league back in June. Look, you got 2 goals, an outstanding performance as always from you. Tell me, what was kind of your individual process coming into tonight's game?
Yeah, I'm very happy to my recovery. Thank you for physiotherapy in that time because I'm operation in June when I go to vacation. But I do all pre-season. I feel very good. But I'm very happy to score 2 goals. But in the end, like the more important for us, 3 points. I'm sad. I think all teams sad about the result, but we should come back strong, more focused. The first game in the league, we have a lot of games in this season. Should be more focused to continue our performance like last season. If we want to do something special for the team, for our fans, we should give him a little bit more.
Absolutely, and I think just continue that positivity. Remember, you are the reigning champions and you've got the whole season ahead of you, so well done.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we have a lot of competition this season. We know game by game very hard. Like I said before, should be focus, should be concentration. I hope we receive the goal in last minute just in this game. In next games, we try to prepare to the coach to do the things how we do better, how we do wrong today, and inshallah we win 3 points next game.
What a fabulous player he is, a real servant to Al Wasl club on and off the pitch. Keep Fabio de Lima fit and you've always got a chance of winning a game. OK, let's move on then to Al Wahda, who got a narrow 1-0 win over Ajman. Last season's ADIB Cup champions, of course, but it took a former Al Jazira player for Al Wahda to win this one. This was a close game. This wasn't the start that Al Wahda were looking for. they got the 3 points. Of course they did, which they'll be happy with. But I think perhaps in terms of their performance,
in the end, they got what they wanted, the 3 points. But I agree with you, especially in the beginning. Ajman had some chances. Ajman played a very decent match also. It's somehow unfair, if we can talk about justice in football, that they lost the match because probably they deserved a little bit more. But in the end, Al Wahda prevailed. A great cross by Ruben on the left. It's an own goal, it's true, but if Kozanovic would not intercept, it would be complicated anyway to stop. But in the end, really in the end, Ajman could have won it from a penalty. Better luck next time, and Al Wahda must improve also offensively in terms of accuracy.
For Al Wahda now, obviously big changes for them. That Ismail Matar is no longer, you know, his strength off the pitch was as good as his strength on the pitch. He's now retired from the game. A lot of changes, a few players coming in and out. How do you see Al Wahda's season ahead? They're cup champions as well.
Yes, I think the fact that the new coach, Donny, came in, it's not easy. He has to try to put his tactic in place and see which player who can fit his tactic. So I think that's the reason. But I can see that the spirit of last season, the way how they used to fight always to try to get the points, I think it's still there. But the one point I would like to mention again, the striker in the front line is missing that finisher.
Yeah.
They still have to, it look like again this year, they will have to go again with sometimes using Krebin to try to finish the action. I think that's the only thing that was missing. But ball possession, I saw a good Al Wahda, but in front of an Ajman who is who playing good block, and it was a very balanced game. So hopefully the coach Donny will understand quickly that they need that striker who can finish the action.
So Al Wahda struggling to score goals on the opening day of the season. The same can't be said for Al Nasr, though, who gave Al Orooba, newly promoted from last season, a short, sharp lesson in the ADNOC Pro League, beating them 5-1. Adel Tarabt getting a couple of goals, and then Indaya Azarkan and Gabbiadini getting the last one as well. This is a terrific start for Al Nasr.
And no Mabhout goal.
No Ali Mabhout, of course.
In this first attempt in the Pro League, of course, with Al Nasr. Al Nasr, for me, alongside with Wahda, the two most intriguing sides for the season. Al Wahda because of the coach they brought in, and Al Nasr because of the signings, mostly Ali Mabhout. For me, Adel Tarabt is the Zidane of the ADNOC Pro League. I said it before and I say it again. An amazing player technically that played a very good match, and looking exciting for Al Nasr. The possession is still there, even though, and despite the 5 goals they scored, I still believe they can do better in the last third and in the finishing. And a word for Al Orooba. I hope and I expect that they will improve and they will somehow dribble their destiny.
Well, Ibrahim, I was going to ask you about Al Orooba and newly promoted teams in general. It's so difficult, isn't it? But on the first game of the season, really defensively is what you want to establish on the first day of the season. They've already conceded 5 here.
Absolutely. It's very important, especially when you have the first game, to play as a block. And I'm not sure if the coach was aware of, if he knew very well the quality of Al Nasr, which is the ball possession. They will make you run a lot, they will make you spend a lot of energy, and then if they have the chance to finish the action, they will do it. And they did it so well that game that it was very difficult for Orooba to even try to play as a team. The ball was moving very fast, the combination between the players, amazing, and I think that's what made the difference. They had 5 chances, they were very efficient, they finished the action.
A word about Alfred Schroeder at Al Nasr, took over midway through last season. It's fair to say he's pretty much transforming the team, and certainly in terms of their passing ability, which is something they struggled with before he arrived. But now look at them now, 540 passes and nearly 88% accuracy as well, near the top of the table. I mean, way out the top in terms of the number of passes. Obviously, this is something that he wants to see his team doing, and he has the players that can do it.
There was the clockwork orange, and this is the clockwork blue with Al Nasser, getting back to Cruyff and all the Dutch school.
Yeah.
It's the Dutch school in the end. Alfred Schroeder was doing this with Alain last season. We had also Dutch coaches with Jazira doing the same. It's also somehow a benchmark for the Jazira's game, the possession. And he's doing very well. I think Al Nasser in that sense has an established team with 3 in the back. Lots of possession. It's just about now understanding how Ali Mabhout moves. It takes more than a smile. Once they do that, and also Ali Mabhout understands how to operate with his teammates, Al Nasser is a side to be careful with.
Yeah.
He didn't score, but he will create a lot of space for the other players to arrive. And what a great Tarab, as Pedro mentioned, is in great form. He's a great leader, and I'm sure this season he will be very beneficial for Al Nasser.
The thought of Tarabt and Ali Mabkut getting that thinking going is quite scary for the opposition. Now, Alfred Schroeder, the Al Nasser boss, he was also in the stands at the Abu Dhabi derby for Bani Yas against Al Jazira. Bani Yas are Al Nasser's next opponents in the league, and he would have come away from that game a bit wary about Bani Yas. They beat Al Jazira by 2-0. Nia Karte, really the star of the show, the provider for the first goal, and scored the second one himself. A lot of the talk afterwards, though, Pedro, was about Al Jazira, understandably. They've got a lot of talented players. They've brought big names in. Mohamed El Neni, of course, one of the biggest. But they just didn't seem to have any teeth up front. They didn't seem to get to that final third and make opportunities happen.
Assertiveness in the finishing and in the last third, I agree with you. But let's not rule out Bani Yas. Bani Yas might be one of the good surprises of the season. It's a new version for Bani Yas. It's a new start with a different coach, with a different playing style than the previous coaches. Many changes also in the team in terms of important players who left, like Gaston Suarez, Sasa Ivkovic. So new players joining in. Lazar Markovic, clearly the most impactful signing in terms of his curriculum. A very interesting side, very well coached by a Portuguese coach that I know quite well. So I know that he will do different, especially in terms of the offense. Getting back to Jazira, the possession was there. They failed in the last third. They need to improve that. But not only good players, also a very good coach. Despite the loss, I think Jazira has made a good choice with the coach.
And in terms of up front, obviously they've lost Ali Mabkut, the UAE's leading goal scorer and the club's leading goal scorer. Ramon Mires, though, has come in. He scored in his cup debut, but he wasn't getting much service in this game against Bani Yas, was he? Yeah,
he's a great striker. He has a lot of qualities. But I think the new coach also coming in Jazira, it's not easy. And last year, it's not like they were already doing great performances. So a new coach coming also is trying to catch or try to fix the mistakes that were happening. I think he will have a lot of work to do, because I still see that there is no that solidarity between or that connection between the players, especially when they have to play as block. Because we could see in Bani Yas' game, it was a lot of through ball that were going through. Yeah. So you have to make sure that that line and to play as a team to completely close all the small spaces, and then I think when they will do that, it will be much better for them. But it's not. I don't judge them now, because I can see that there is the potential, but they will have to work harder, because this season will not be easy.
Bani Yas, let's have some stats here, Pedro. You love these. Look at this conversion rate, 50%. So they scored 2 goals off 4 shots. That's a pretty good conversion rate, and you know, you look down to Shabab Al Ahli, it's down to 11%, so that Shabab Al Ahli having loads of shots, but not necessarily taking the opportunities that come to them. What does this kind of stat tell you?
It tells me that Bani Yas will be a team that will be very compact, very solid, and then they will take most of their chances up front. So in this case, Jazira also somehow gave them the space to have these chances. But I think Bani Yas this season will be a more ambitious team offensively than in the previous versions of Bani Yas from the previous seasons. It's just the first round. Let's not take this too much at heart. Also, Shabab Al Ahli, because I was there, okay, only 11%, but they produced enough, and Bataeh's goalkeeper was amazing. Bani Yas, I think, can be, as I said before, a very interesting surprise.
They really had a great game against Jazira. We may be seeing Jazira as still not finding the right way to play. But Bani Yas was in control completely of the game, offensively, defensively, and in general.
Very organised, Bani Yas, yeah, indeed. OK, let's move on. We've mentioned Shabab Al Ahli. They got a 2-1 win against Al Bataeh. As Pedro says, the Al Bataeh goalkeeper had quite the game. Abang scored first for Al Bataeh, and then Shabab Al Ahli struck back with Dibba on 68 minutes, and then new signing Ajman scoring the winner on 90 minutes. You were talking about the goalkeeping of Al Bataeh, and we've been talking about the shot conversion of Shabab Al Ahli. What do we read into this result then?
There are many things to look after in this particular match. The first 20 minutes, like, it was overwhelming, the pressure of Shabab Al Ahli and Bataeh. Bataeh could not even breathe. But the goalkeeper was there, luck was there also, let us be honest, because Shabab Al Ahli produced enough in like 20 minutes to be like 3-0 up. They were unlucky at times to not score. And then Bataeh, who played a very interesting match too. It was an interesting match to follow, mostly if we have in mind that it was quite hot, quite humid, it's still quite early in the season, and both these teams played a very, very good match. All the players, they gave clearly their best and their all to win the match. Bataeh even managed to get ahead, because in the second half Bataeh came back a little bit more offensive, a little bit more ambitious. Then Shabab Al Ahli joined the second striker, Munaz Dabour, with Sardar Azmoun on the box. Yeah. And in the end, they managed to win the match 2-0. It was a fair score for Shabab Al Ahli. If it would have been a draw, it would not be bad for Bataeh. But look out for this Shabab Al Ahli in terms of the title race. For me, they looked very impressive.
One of the reasons why they looked impressive was they were going down both channels, Ibrahim. They were using the left side and the right side all the time, pretty much, for their attacks. We saw some teams in the first round trying to weave their way through the middle, which is very difficult. But Shabab Al Ahli, obviously the game plan is to get it out to the wings as soon as possible.
Yes, Graham. Usually when you're a new coach taking over a team like Shabab Al Ahli, it's not easy directly to find the right solution for a team. And Paulo Sousa, I can say that he can see already the strength and of Shabab Al Ahli, which is using the wings. And he has two great finishers, Dabour and Sardar. So, and they show that they really deserve to be on the front line of Shabab Al Ahli. And what I like about Shabab Al Ahli, we spoke about it last year. At the end of the day, they're looking for that 3 point. Yeah. And the spirit, the mentality is completely different than other teams. They will be fighting. Even when I used to play, honestly, it was one of the team. It was very hard to play against. They never give up. They play, and they're efficient and constant. So I think that's what makes the difference.
They should be challenging for the title, we reckon, near the end of the season. OK, let's move on. Al Orooba, of course, suffered an opening day heavy defeat in their first game in the top flight. And it was a similar story for Dibba Al-Hisn, the other promoted team. They were taking on Sharjah and they lost 4-1. This was quite a routine win for Sharjah, really. In terms of starting your season, for them, this was a very nice way to begin their campaign.
Definitely for Sharjah in this new season, mostly maintaining the same team. They just added Paco Alcácer and David, the left back. Caio Lucas also came back, but this is the moment of the match for me, because Dibba Al-Hisn got reduced to 10 men like around minute 20, and that makes it very hard for a team that was just promoted. It's their first experience as a club in the top flight of the UAE football, against a team like Sharjah, full of experienced players, with the most experienced coach in the league. It was a hard task for them. Again, like with Al Orooba, I hope and I expect them to improve and to do better throughout the season. But I think that moment was critical. I have a tough time to analyze the rest of the match without taking that moment off when the player was sent off and they got reduced to 10 men. It was very complicated.
Similar thing, Ibrahim, we were talking about Al Orooba. For Dibba Al-Hisn, I mean, 2 of the goals they conceded came from crosses. Defensively, if you are arguably going to be in a, trying to avoid relegation for much of the season, defensively you've got to be more solid, haven't you?
I totally agree with you. They need to know the strength of Sharjah, for example, because if you go against Sharjah, they have like tough and very fast players. So it's very important to play in block. If you give that space, they will use it to make the difference. But what I like in that game, first of all, 2 great crosses coming from the right side. almost similar goal. The first goal with Caio and the second goal with Luan Pereira. It was really, I mean, great game for Sharjah. And Cosmin, of course, is trying. The season last season was not too good, and yeah, you can see on the action here, perfect cross and two people being in the box, perfect. But okay, the last time we need to see a better defense. But I think they did a great game. Also the combination, and let's not forget also Usman Kamara, who was in great form. Since last year, he's still doing and progressing. He's still young. He has a lot of things to do, so to show, and he's doing very well.
It's complicated because, for example, Khalid Ibrahim, the right back, he was in the origin of 2 goals with 2 assists. You need, as an opponent of Sharjah, you need to stop him from crossing. Like Bandar with Alain, it's the same. If he crosses and Lab is inside the box, then it's a death sentence.
Sorry, I would like to come back on the Piero here. If you see the defense line of Dibba Al-Hisn, the communication is not there. They're all watching just the ball. But they don't take the information where exactly the striker is standing. And if they don't pay attention to that, if they play against the whole season like that, they will take a lot of goals because you can see that there is no communication. First of all, you see that triangle, the player that is in the back, it should be exactly next to the other 2 players of Sharjah. So it's important for them, especially if you are promoted to the first ADNOC Pro League. There is some mistake you should not make. If you make, you will pay for it.
And it looks like Sharjah, we're just talking about Shabab Al Ahli, going down the wings, firing crosses in. Sharjah obviously going with the same policy this season. It's paying dividends already. It's a wonder why other teams don't try and do the same thing all the time.
Yeah, especially you can see the 5 defenders out there. Line. It is important, and only one player scored the goal. That is too easy. They need to have information, communicate, and I think it will be much better for them.
Plus, Ibrahim, nobody is jumping on Khalid Ibrahim, on the pressure on Khalid Ibrahim. So he crosses, twice he did the same. He crossed without opposition. A player like that, you cannot allow him to do that, because once the ball is airborne, then you are in trouble. Again, as Ibrahim said, they must rotate their necks, they must check, but they are already in trouble.
But he looked like, as I know Cosmin, he looked like they tried it on in the training. Sharjah, with opening on the side, and they know the weaknesses. Make the cross inside and good finishing.
Okay, let's look at our lineup for the team that we think was the outstanding team from match week 1 in the ADNOC Pro League. Laba and Tarabt up front. You can't really argue too much with that. Laba with a hat-trick, of course. Tarab's with a couple of goals. Fabio De Lima, a couple of goals himself as well. Gaedi got a very important goal for Kalba, didn't he? And he is a very, I think, overlooked player sometimes. He is a real talent at Kalba, and he can often drag Kalba back into a game. Lucas Pimenta at the back there, one of the defensive players from Wahda. Do you agree with those choices?
Yes, I agree. We could add others, but I think I agree with you mostly with Mahdi Gaedi. He takes Kalba to another level. Yeah. Alone by himself, of course, with the help of his teammates, but he has that extra mile that helps Kalba to get good results. Also, Adel Tarabt and Laba because of the hat-trick, and Adel Tarabt, what an amazing player.
And the manager, of course, there's a lot of good tactical displays by managers in the first match week of the ADNOC Pro League, but we've gone for João Pedro Sousa at Bani Yas, and we talked about it a bit when we talked about the match, but he was spot on, wasn't he, in his first week, in a big week for him. It's an Abu Dhabi derby as well against Al Jazira in front of his home fans, and he got it absolutely right, Ibrahim.
Absolutely, a great victory against Jazira. He put the right tactic, he put the right players. He understood exactly what was needed to beat Al Jazira in their own field. So I think he's a big, promising coach in the season. As Pedro mentioned, I saw a different Bani Yas who can really have a great ball possession, and you have Nyakate in front who can finish the action. So
reminded me of the Bani Yas of a few seasons ago under Daniel Isela, where they came second in the league. I don't know. It's very early in the season, but you get that feeling again that Bani Yas might.
I saw that Pedro is smiling because of
because he's Portuguese. I was going to ask, can I mention that he's Portuguese, please?
Did we not mention that 18 times already? No, that's surprising. We overlooked that. Okay, let's look at match week 2. Remember, there is going to be an early international break, so we're going to have another pause after these games, but plenty to look forward to this week. Al Jazira, can they get their first win of the season there at home against Al Orooba? Al Wasl as well, defending league champions. Can they get their first win? They're playing the other newly promoted team, Dibba Al-Hisn, 5 to 6 in the evening. That is going to be warm. Al Nasr taking on Bani Yas. Two teams had a great first week. That's going to be fascinating to watch. And Sharjah at home against Kalba. Those games are on Thursday, and then on Friday, Al Wahda away at Khorfakkan, Al Bataeh at home to Alain. And then our match of the week, we will have live coverage here with you on Abu Dhabi Sports. Shabab Al Ahli go to Ajman. That has the potential of being a really good encounter, doesn't it?
Definitely, definitely. After what Ajman did against Wahda, and also what Shabab Al Ahli is showing in the beginning of the season, it is going to be a very intriguing encounter in Ajman.
Okay, that is it for our first final score of the season. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back every week after a match week to analyse and give our thoughts. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Thank you very much, Pedro.
Thank you.
And thank you to you for watching. As I say, we will be back for live coverage of Ajman against Shabab Al Ahli on air at about 8 o'clock on Friday. Until then, from everyone at Abu Dhabi Sports, good night.